Cool.
Yes. You got a
Okay.
haircut.
I did.
Same. Me too. I just shaved my head today.
Looks very shaven.
Thank you. It's extra shiny, right? Do you see
I do see the shine. I do see it.
Banana slam jam.
People ask me a lot what my MMR is nowadays. I hardly try to look. I try not to look. I think a lot of what goes wrong in a Dota game is things that you just have to be aware that you're doing them, and the worst thing you can do is like try to stop doing them. I kind of like learned that from the inner game of tennis, which you had me read. It's like rather than focusing on like, you got to swing harder, or you got to try harder in this pub, you got to like stop getting distracted. It's not about telling yourself to stop doing these things or like the bad habits. Everyone knows what their bad habits are. Like, some people are more self-aware than others, but if you were to ask somebody what their bad habits are, they'd almost certainly be able to list like a couple, at least in terms of Dota. And the biggest part about them is just acknowledge whenever you're doing them. Like, if you're playing for MMR rather than playing to improve, if you're playing like the way you think the game, like for me, my issue is that I play the way I think the game should be played rather than the way the game is being played. So that means I respond poorly to my teammates doing something different than I do, or like building different items or playing the game differently than I envision. And it's all just about awareness and telling yourself, hey, I'm doing it again. And then that's it. I think you have to have a combination of awareness, but also like not being too hard on yourself. I think too many people are too hard on themselves. They beat themselves up. They get anxious. They get
angry.
Angry at themselves, others. It doesn't really matter who you take it out on. It's equally toxic to your own performance in the game. I think it's a big part of Dota. I think I could understand how... I can't really relate to someone like yourself in the sense that, like, you got coached by somebody, so you're like, you feel like you're supposed to get better. I can't really relate to that.
I would say it's just the same sort of frame of mind as thinking about your MMR. I would say it's under that same category, I would say.
Oh, playing for MMR is like one of the worst things you can do. Probably top 5, I would say.
I would say.
You just... The minute you start thinking about it, okay, so the premise of the book he had me read, guys, I also got recommended by CCNC to read the book, is the whole idea that, like, you have two selves. One of them's, like, the one you were born with, the natural, like, you go with instincts, and the other one's, like, the voice that talks to yourself and tells you good things, tells you bad things, like, judges you. It's like yourself judging yourself. That's, like, the whole premise of the book. And I really,
self 1 and self 2.
Yeah, self 1 and self 2. And I think like the biggest thing about that is that in Dota, how it applies is one of the many ways it applies is that when you start thinking about MMR, you start thinking like going into this game, I need to win this game to get 9K. I need to win this game to get 2K or 3K or 4K. Like you think about something that isn't the game. Like it's anything. Like it can be anything. I don't want to go too deep into like philosophical approaches, but I do think this stuff's important for you guys that if something you're doing that's going into the Dota game is not strictly you thinking about the Dota game, then it's wrong. Like it's incorrect, it's inefficient, it's detrimental to your own performance. Like what can you do next to improve yourself? Like what are you gonna do in this current game? What are you working on right now? Those are the type of questions we need to ask ourselves. Anything else is just a distraction that will make you perform worse. So that's like something I've been trying to embrace, and it's a lot of bad habits to break. It's a lot of bad habits, guys. It's not easy. You don't fix it overnight. I'm still working on it. I've been working on it for several months. So, just you got to catch yourself doing it, and then play the game of Dota. So it sounds like it's so funny because yesterday I think I played way better than I was playing. Like I got a lot better like the last like 3 days than I was before, and what I realized is I was sleep deprived. Like that's why I played better. I played better being sleep deprived. I'm being very clear, like how this works.
Wait.
Yeah.
You play better being sleep deprived?
Because I just didn't think about anything that wasn't the game of Dota. I literally just thought about the game of Dota. I wasn't sleep deprived like for a long time, just like a couple days. And I realized that my brain was too exhausted to think about anything that wasn't the Dota game. So I just played better. I actually realized I actually just asked myself like, why did I play better today? Like, and I'm not trying to, to my own harm. It's like, I know I played better today. Maybe my win rate wasn't like perfect or whatever, but I felt pretty good today. And I realized that I just wasn't thinking about a bunch of random bullcrap that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of Dota. So, a lot of it
your
is
mind goes like a million miles an hour
Yep.
sometimes, and when you're fully awake, it just kind of just notices all of the. So you were kind of like in a chill state, like your
Yeah.
mind was like.
I literally
chill
said to
state.
my co-casters, I'm like, I was in like a flow state yesterday. I was chilling, man. I was vibing during my
that's
I
it.
was vibing during my Dota game.
That's the best feeling.
yeah,
That's the best feeling
And
ever.
what I realized is that like by recognizing why I vibe and also recognizing like what prevents me from doing it is how I do it. Like if you try to vibe, you know, you're just like, I'm trying to play instinctual today. You've already lost. Like you've already failed.
Not happening.
So it's
Not happening.
It's a lot about
That's when
recognizing
you
for
already
yourself.
like, oh, my mind active. Your self one, your ego, your mind. If he's first, like if that part of your self is the one taking over, it's done. Like you are not in the moment. You're not in that zone.
To be clear to everyone, self one is the one that like you critique yourself, you talk to yourself. Self two is like the instinct. So when he says self one, it's like that's based on the book we were talking about.
It's a wonderful book, guys. It
helps. It really puts things into like a simple example. It's like things you feel like you should already know, which is kind of funny, but it's like, yeah, it's pretty true. You know, if I just sit back and observe, it's easier than to attach judgments to things, which all of us.
And you know what's so funny? Let's say you're vibing for like maybe like, sorry to interrupt, coach. Let's say you're vibing for like 7 days, like you're killing it for 7 days. The moment you start thinking, "Oh, I'm vibing,"
I'm killing it. Yeah, that's the second it stops.
That's the second it's over. You're just like, and then you lost it. Then you know, but it's always there. It's just being conscious of being in that state. But yeah, for those watching, like I have some people thinking like, oh, you're making excuses, you're so dramatic. Guys, I promise you, these things definitely help. I think playing at the highest level of anything, I'm not saying I'm playing at the highest level. I'm just saying I'm a Crusader. But playing at my current highest level, I played competitive pool at a very high level. I was a champion before. I was a champion in the highest classes. When I read this book, I won my first ever tournament. And it does help. I'm telling you, it does help. Like, and it helps you enjoy the game more. Like sometimes if you're in that ego state, that self one state for a long time, you are miserable for a long time playing.
I've just had a lot of people come into my stream recently saying like, how do I deal with queue anxiety and how do I deal with like nerves and stuff? And I'm just telling you guys that the reason why I'm willing to go into more depth on this today is because I have been getting a lot of those questions. I think people are realizing like, there's things that aren't their actual Dota skill that's preventing them from being performing better and gaining MMR that way. And it's just, this kind of stuff is really important to be self-aware of why you are not playing at an optimal version of what you can play. So it helps you not only in Dota, it helps you in life. I've realized it a lot, like that there's just so often that we hinder ourselves. And a lot of us, we say, oh, it's me doing that again. I actually realized that for a while I was playing really bad, like probably years. I was playing really bad on my first game of the day. And I guarantee after reading this book, I realized that the reason why I play badly on the first game of the day is it probably happened, 10, 15 times. And I started noticing I was playing poorly. And then I started thinking about how every first game of the day is my first game of the day. And then I started playing poorly on the first game of the day. And then you end up with these like self-fulfilling prophecies where you tell yourself, I know I play poorly on the first game of the day, so when you load up the first game of the day, you expect yourself to play poorly, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking about, I play poorly in the first game of the day, so then you end up playing poorly first game of the day, because instead of thinking about playing the Dota game, you're thinking about playing the first game of the day. So, yeah,
you literally just
so I'm just telling you guys, like, that's my like one example of like very palpable. I did this and I was like, holy shit. Because I realized yesterday my best game of the stream was my first game. And I was like, why did I own so hard yesterday? If you liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all that shenanigans. Because at the end of the day, YouTube does care about that. You may not care about it. I may not care about it. But the YouTube algorithm does. So please do.